Did you know? The original Donkey Kong 64 had the Kongs using realistic guns. Well, that's one way of putting it. You might have already seen these beta images of DK and Diddy holding a shotgun and pistol. It certainly sticks out more than the final version. But according to game designer George Andreas during an interview with Games Radar, they had given the Kongs realistic guns and bullets with realistic shotgun sounds as a placeholder, possibly using elements from their other titles such as GoldenEye. And when you're knee-deep into developing, it's understandable for one to forget that an element of the game is a placeholder. It's natural to get comfortable with anything temporary over time. Well, the placeholder certainly caught Shigeru Miyamoto's attention. When he visited the Rare office to check on the progress of the game, his face was horrified. And in that moment, Miyamoto would doodle up a design that would be the coconut gun we all know and love today. Suddenly, the DK rap lyric makes even more sense. Well, yeah, of course it'll hurt. I'm curious to know if the DK rap was written before or after these changes, and if it's kind of an inside joke reference to this moment. I'm not fully understanding the utter shock out of Miyamoto, considering games like Star Fox Assault would later show cartoon characters running around with all kinds of guns and bombs, both characters designed by Miyamoto. But at the end of the day, these are two completely different series and characters. DK with a gun would feel just as weird as Mario with a gun, or Yoshi with a gun, or Miyamoto with a gun. Oh no! So if these were the beta guns for DK and Diddy, I'm dying to know what were the placeholders to Lanky, Tiny, and Chunky? What if Lanky had a full-blown 360 no-scope sniper rifle? Or Chunky with a rocket blaster? What if Tiny had a crossbow? Oh. It's really funny to think about the what-ifs. I mean, it's really hard to picture a Kong with an AK-47, hunting rifle, or ray gun. Then again, here's Donkey, locked and loaded with a shotgun. So what is it about the coconut gun or the peanut pop gun that works so naturally? I feel it has a similar cartoony charm to something like Kids Next Door. Obviously, they aren't giving the kids realistic loaded guns. It would take us out of the story. But the childlike imagination in the self-designed weapons adds to the character and story, while also feeling like a natural part of the world. The hollowed-out logs with the leaf sticking out makes it feel like Funky Kong truly crafted these himself. And not just the gun itself, but the ammo too. Something about the coconuts, peanuts, grapes, feathers, and pineapples feel accurate to each Kong. I think the sound plays a role in that. The coconut and pineapple have so much weight to the sound, a certain oomph to it. And when I think power, these two come to mind. Diddy's little pew-pew peanuts certainly match his small manner. Still just as deadly, of course. Lanky's airy-sounding grapes really match who he is as a Kong, just not quite there. Not very stylish, not very graceful, very funny face-like. And I can't even think of a weapon that better fits Tiny. The feather crossbow combination sounds very quick and clean, it gets the job done, very reliable. I don't know, that seems like Tiny to me. And while these weapons have a cartoony effect to it, I can't get over the realism of, well, guns. I think it was brilliant for the game to have these funky upgrades as players progress through the game. It keeps the Kong relevant and adds to the story of the game working together. But it also keeps the guns interesting. The basic ammo upgrade is a no-brainer. Over time, players just need more ammo to overcome challenges. The homing ammo is just brilliant. The ability to simply rapid fire in a direction and take out anything in the way is not only an easier mechanic to the 3D world, but it's also really fun and addicting. I usually completely ignore any airborne enemies because they're a pain to take down. Not a problem anymore. And finally, the scope. I'll give Rare an A for effort because on paper, I like the idea and the challenges originally designed for the scope. However, the scope creates a lag in the game, and that's a tough one to recover from. If you save the mechanical fish challenge for later in the game, you're going to have an even worse time completing it. So as a final thought to these Kongs and their firearms, I find the timing of this game to be really interesting. This is the age of 3D games coming in waves and trying out new mechanics. Any game with a gun had to adapt from 2D to 3D in terms of space, aiming, and point of view. The early Zelda games provided some serious examples on what works and doesn't work in the 3D space. Aimlessly pointing a bow and missing every arrow is a tedious and frustrating process. Sure, it's cool to point and aim your weapon, but it's a level of realism that feels less real. But using that sweet Z targeting, forget about it. Allowing the player to stay in the 3D space, but aiming becomes quick and easy, now that's a great mechanic. Looking back at Donkey Kong, I'm kinda surprised such a feature doesn't exist. I suppose it was too early to know Z targeting would be the go-to move. And between you and me, I don't use the guns in DK64 unless I need to open a door switch. Maybe that's because of the lack of Z targeting, or perhaps I just breeze past enemies, collect what I need, and move on. Plus, rapidly tapping the B button to punch is more effective than dumping ammo into an enemy that just won't go down. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Hey DK, what do you think about Z targeting? Ah yes, that's your coconut gun.
Cool.
But what are you doing? Whoa, watch where you point that thing. Ow! Ow, that hurts!